Welcome to California in 2026. The world's 5th largest economy, home to multi-million-dollar mansions in Malibu, tech giants shaping the future in Silicon Valley, and one of the key hosts preparing for the FIFA World Cup 2026. Sounds perfect, right? I mean, when people think of California, everything feels, wow, Hollywood, beautiful beaches, that movie-like lifestyle. If you were visiting here for the first time, what do you expect to see? Clean streets, glowing lights, right? But when you step outside, the same upscale cafes, the same tourists taking photos, and right next to that, you might notice a few makeshift tents, people living right on the sidewalk, their belongings packed into shopping carts. Not everywhere, but enough to make you pause. You feel that?
I worked hard my whole life and I'm just not, this isn't a cop-out, this isn't really a choice.
The reality is, California doesn't just lead in wealth, it's also facing a striking number. Over 180,000 people without stable housing. And what's even more striking is, you don't have to go far to see it, it's right there in the most famous cities, right along the tourist routes.
I've already held a sign, cardboard sign, saying, you know, anything helps, homeless, hungry. It's a little humbling. Generally, people are willing to give you a couple dollars. You know, some people will actually be like, well, if you're there at the same spot day in, day out, they'll be like, hey, you want to like do something with your life besides flying a sign?
Recently, the state government, under the leadership of Gavin Newsom, has been pushing stronger measures to address encampments and restore public order. But how effective are they? And why does a place this wealthy have such a visible contrast?
And the last time I had my own apartment was 2011. I had lost my job and my kids took off, both of them. You're gonna think you have nowhere to shower, you have nowhere to go to the bathroom, you gotta look for food, and you're in survival mode.
On one side, there's the lights, the luxury, those picture-perfect check-in spots, and on the other, a completely different reality. So, what's really going on here?
You're supposed to be my wife! So man up! Why are you f***ing like this in front of everybody, man? I'm tired of this with you, man. You wanna open your mouth to somebody about somebody's kid. That's not mine. They're not my fucking...
Okay, got us. So now take a breath. No, calm down.
In this video, we're going to take a deeper look at that picture from California's beauty and prosperity to the reality of people without stable housing, to public safety policies, and ultimately, what all of this means for the modern travel experience. The data doesn't lie. LA remains the absolute epicenter of the state's crisis, home to the largest unsheltered population in the region. One side, Beverly Hills, clean streets, gated mansions, security everywhere, homes worth tens of millions. A few miles away, Hollywood, still bright, still crowded, neon lights, tourists lining up for photos, but step just one block off the main strip, and the scene shifts. Tents, people living on sidewalks, carts packed with everything they own, same city, two completely different realities. Why is that gap so extreme? Over 70,000 inches, the county alone, according to Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. If you want to see the system's total failure, look no further than Skid Row. We're talking about a concentrated, multi-block containment zone where thousands of tents create a permanent, sprawling, urban gridlock. The street environment here isn't just unclean, it's biologically hazardous.
I will never eat seafood again. Reason being, for decades, the homeless have been pooping and peeing in a bucket and dumping it in the drain because they've only got 2 bathrooms down here out of the entire Skid Row area. And no business out here is going to let you use the bathroom. And then they come through and they sweep. They come through and say they're doing a street cleaning. They power wash the sidewalk, and it goes down to the drain and straight to the ocean untreated. And they take all your things if you're not on time with moving it.
And it's not just Skid Row. In Hollywood, look past the tourist spots. Side streets are filled with old RVs parked bumper to bumper. This is what locals call vehicle living. These are not just unemployed people. Many are working but can't afford rent. So they live in cars, vans, trailers. That's how tight the housing market is. The LA metro system is still a weak point. Reports from Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority show ongoing issues: low officer presence, slow response times, and inconsistent enforcement. Riders frequently report harassment, aggressive behavior, and strong odors in train cars. It's not constant, but it's unpredictable. And unpredictability is what makes people uneasy. Car break-ins are another issue. LAPD data shows theft from vehicles remains one of the most common crimes in tourist-heavy areas, like Hollywood and downtown. That's why locals will tell you straight, don't leave anything visible in your car, not even for a minute. On the policy side, Governor Gavin Newsom has pushed large-scale funding, billions, toward housing and cleanup programs. The city also runs regular encampment clearances. But here's the reality. Clearing tents doesn't remove the problem. It just moves it. Without enough affordable housing, people come back or relocate nearby. So here's the bottom line. Los Angeles isn't a city that's fixing its problems. It's a city that's learned to subsidize its own decay while keeping the luxury boutiques shiny enough for the cameras. Forget the iconic cable cars. The true face of the city is the street-level collapse of the Tenderloin district. Here, billion-dollar AI headquarters sit literally across the street from open-air drug markets where fentanyl use is the norm, not the exception. In the most recent official count, the city recorded about 8,300 people without stable housing, and more than 4,300 of them were living outside, on sidewalks, in tents, or inside vehicles. Tenderloin plus Soma equals core pressure zone. These two areas hold a massive concentration of services, shelters, and street population. Up to 60% of the city's homeless infrastructure is packed into this zone. That concentration creates density, and density changes everything: movement, behavior, safety. The security situation is dominated by one word: bipping. This isn't just petty theft. It's organized urban warfare. Crime crews target tourist hotspots like Fisherman's Wharf and the Palace of Fine Arts, smashing car windows and draining trunks in under 15 seconds. It's gotten so bad that the SFPD has deployed bait cars, yet the glass keeps shattering. Locals have started a survival trend of leaving their trunks wide open and windows down just to prove there's nothing left to steal. A desperate move to save a $500 window replacement. When the city's unofficial parking rule is to leave your car wide open, has the law already surrendered to the street? The policy failure is raw and undeniable. San Francisco spends over $1 billion annually on homelessness, yet the results are invisible. The city's harm reduction policies, intended to be humanitarian, have transformed neighborhoods like 6th Street into biohazard zone. Major retailers are voting with their feet. The massive San Francisco Center, formerly Westfield, and the flagship Whole Foods at 8th and Market have shut down, citing employee safety and deteriorating street conditions. Linking this all together, you have a city caught in a deadly paradox. It is the most expensive place to live in America, yet it has some of the least managed public spaces. For a traveler, San Francisco isn't a vacation destination anymore. It's a high-risk environment where you must navigate between safe zones and dead zones with the precision of a local insider. The Golden City is tarnished, and until policy shifts from empathy to enforcement, the sidewalk will remain a battlefield. San Diego feels calmer at first glance, but don't let that surface fool you. The growth curve here is real, and it's moving fast. You've got La Jolla's coastline, clean streets, high-end dining, and then just a few blocks inland, the pattern starts to shift. Tents along sidewalks, people settling into public spaces, especially near transit corridors and downtown zones like Gaslamp. It's not as dense as LA or San Francisco, but it's spreading quietly, consistently. So here's the question. When a low-risk city starts showing the same signals, do you wait or do you pay attention now? Let's break it down. Climate is a major variable here, mild year-round, which means outdoor living is physically sustainable. That changes everything. You're seeing more long-term setups, not just temporary stays. At the same time, rent prices have surged, pushing lower-income workers out of traditional housing. So what happens? They adapt sidewalks, underpasses, beach edges. These become fallback zones. Now, from a movement standpoint, this is where it matters for visitors. You're walking through a clean district, then suddenly you hit a cluster. Not dangerous by default, but unpredictable. That's the key word. You adjust your pace, you scan your surroundings, you stay aware. It's not fear, it's recalibration. Policy-wise, San Diego is taking a more controlled approach, tightening rules on where encampments can be set up, increasing enforcement in high-traffic areas. You'll notice that certain zones are kept clear, especially near tourist hubs. But then again, displacement kicks in, clear one block, another fills up. It's a shifting map. If the most livable city in the region is starting to show pressure points, what does that tell you about the bigger system? Because this isn't isolated anymore. It's scaling. Bottom line, San Diego isn't at peak intensity yet. But the trajectory, it's upward. And if you're paying attention, the signals are already there. Oakland and Sacramento don't get the same spotlight, but that's exactly why you need to watch them closely. This is where the pattern spreads, where pressure from bigger cities starts to overflow. And it's not random, it's structural. What happens when the crisis doesn't stay in the main cities, but starts moving outward? Are we looking at a local issue or a statewide system failure? Start with Oakland. It sits right next to San Francisco, but operates with fewer resources and less insulation. Drive along the freeways, I-880, I-980, and you'll see it immediately. Long stretches of encampments lining the shoulders, under overpasses, near industrial zones. These aren't short-term setups. You're looking at semi-permanent structures. Tarps, wood frames, generators. That tells you duration. That tells you stability on the street, not in housing. Now, layer in the economics. As San Francisco prices spike, displacement pushes east. People relocate not by choice, but by cost pressure. Oakland absorbs that overflow, and with limited infrastructure to match, the system stretches thin. Public services get reactive, not proactive. Cleanups happen, but they're localized, temporary. The footprint shifts, not disappears. Then move inland to Sacramento. Different profile. This is the state capital, policy hub, administrative center. You got government buildings, planned districts, controlled zones. But step outside the core, especially along riverbanks and park corridors, and you'll find expanding encampments. Climate again plays a role. Dry seasons make outdoor living more viable. Add in rising rent, and the same equation applies. From a ground level perspective, here's what changes for people moving through these cities. Predictability drops. You can go from a clean civic block to a high density encampment in minutes. Lighting conditions vary, foot traffic patterns shift, and enforcement presence is inconsistent. So you adapt, you stay aware, you read the environment, you adjust your route. It becomes a navigation exercise, not just a visit. If even the capital city can't stabilize its surroundings, what does that tell you about the scalability of current policies? Because that's the core issue here. Funding exists, programs exist, but coordination, execution, that's where the gaps show. Bottom line, Oakland and Sacramento aren't outliers, they're indicators. When the problem spreads beyond the high-profile cities, it stops being isolated. It becomes systemic. Public safety here isn't defined by extreme incidents. It's defined by constant unpredictability. That's the baseline. You're not dealing with a single threat. You're dealing with variables, movement, behavior, environment, all shifting block by block. Walk through a tourist zone, everything feels controlled. Turn a corner, and the conditions change faster than most visitors expect. So here's the question. If the environment keeps shifting, how do you stay ahead of it? Start with the basics, theft patterns. In high traffic areas, especially near landmarks and parking zones, quick smash and grab break-ins, what locals call bipping, are a known risk. Time window, seconds. Targets, anything visible. That changes behavior immediately. You don't leave items in your car. You don't assume short stops are safe. You operate on zero exposure logic. Next, street level interaction. Most people you'll pass won't engage. But the issue isn't frequency, it's unpredictability. You might encounter verbal outbursts, erratic movement, or someone stepping into your space without warning. Not necessarily directed at you, but it affects how you move. You increase distance, you avoid confined spaces, you keep exits in sight. That's real-time adjustment. Then there's environmental stress. This one gets overlooked. Odor, trash buildup, blocked sidewalks, these aren't just visual issues. They affect navigation and comfort. You reroute, you speed up, you minimize stops. It's subtle, but it changes the experience. Transit, mixed. Systems like Metro or BART can be efficient, but consistency is the problem. Security presence varies. Some rides are smooth, others feel unmanaged. So again, you adapt, ride during peak hours, stay in visible areas, avoid empty cars. If you have to constantly scan, adjust, and plan your next move, is that still a relaxed trip, or is it something else entirely? Now here's the controversial part. It's not just about safety, it's about perception. Even when nothing happens, the environment can feel unstable. And perception drives behavior. Tourists change routes, skip areas, limit movement after dark. Bottom line, this isn't about fear, it's about awareness. California cities demand it. Policy on paper looks aggressive. Policy on the street, that's where it gets complicated, fast. California has poured billions into housing programs, outreach teams, and behavioral health services. You'll see new units going up, you'll hear about funding packages, and yeah, on paper, it sounds like momentum. If the spending is this high, why are the street conditions still this visible? Where's the disconnect? Let's break it down. First layer, support systems. There are programs designed to move people off the streets into temporary or permanent housing. Outreach teams operate daily, offering services, placement, medical help, but capacity is limited. Demand consistently outpaces supply. So even when placements happen, they don't scale fast enough to reduce the overall footprint. Second layer, enforcement. Cities have stepped up restrictions on where encampments can be set up, especially near schools, transit hubs, and tourist zones. You'll see scheduled cleanups, tents removed, sidewalks cleared, areas reset. On the surface, it looks effective. But zoom out, and you'll notice a pattern: displacement. One block clears, another fills. It's movement, not resolution. Then comes the policy tension. On one side, there's a strong push for humanitarian approaches, protecting rights, avoiding forced removal. On the other, there's pressure from residents and businesses demanding order, cleanliness, predictability. Those two priorities don't always align. So what you get is inconsistency, different rules in different cities, sometimes even different enforcement within the same district. If policies can't stay consistent block to block, how do you expect consistent results citywide? And here's the controversial take. This isn't just a funding issue. It's a coordination problem. Multiple agencies, overlapping responsibilities, slow execution. Meanwhile, street conditions evolve faster than policy can react. Bottom line, California isn't short on ideas or money. It's struggling with alignment and speed. And until those two variables improve, the gap between policy and reality stays wide. California isn't failing, it's exposing the limits of rapid growth without balance. From Los Angeles to San Francisco, what you're seeing isn't isolated, it's systemic. The contrast is real. Wealth, innovation, and opportunity right next to instability on the streets. And for visitors, that changes everything. Not necessarily dangerous, but definitely different from expectations. So the question isn't just, is California still worth visiting? It's, are you prepared to see the full picture? Because once you do, you realize this isn't just a travel story. It's a reality check on how modern cities actually function.